Mary Annie here. This video is in response to this week's topic on the Pagan Perspective, which is the dark side of Wicca. Now, we did learn as the week went by that the original question perhaps was more about balance, and Kara certainly did an excellent job talking about balance, which is the balance in our lives and in the balance in our practice. And what was intriguing to me were the comments earlier in the week by our hosts, specifically referring to the dark. And that's what kind of tickled my fancy this week as I thought about this topic over the week and anticipated and enjoyed the postings. And I thought, I'm not going to revisit balance in Wicca, which anyone who's a serious practitioner is going to learn that easily by studying and by what's already out there. There's nothing new that I would offer about the balancing of light and dark and what it means spiritually and what it means to the work we do in Wicca. But I did think that I found myself this week focusing on dark as a journey for myself, which is so appropriate considering we are coming up on Samhain, that the word has such power in it to me and such peace. So I thought that in addition to what's been shared, that I would share a couple of things that, as a trad Wiccan, dark means to me. And I just picked 3 things out of the charge of the goddess to illustrate more of the many, many facets of what dark can mean. Early on in the charge, she lets us know that she promises to reveal to us all that is as yet unknown. Dark in that sense is knowledge, and it's also knowledge is power. It's the courage it takes to explore. It's almost the serious side of curiosity, where nothing keeps you from going further and sometimes paying a price to learn, sometimes working hard at it, whether it's in the mundane aspect of actually studying or whether it's just letting your foundations be rattled. When you try new things and pick up new experiences, knowledge isn't just facts and figures and the literary aspect of picking up knowledge. It's also experiencing and going where you've not gone before. So knowledge, as she promises to reveal to us all that is as yet unknown, she is telling us that it is safe in her arms to seek and explore and truly, barring the phrase, to go where no man has gone before, to go where each one of us has personally not been before. Dark in that sense is knowledge and the power of knowledge. And a bit later in the charge, she lets us know that in death she promises peace, memory, and reunion with all who have gone before. Dark, in this beautiful instance, talks about the part of life, the balance of life, which is death. She teaches us not to fear it. And in the process of not fearing death, she is also teaching us to live life at its most full. Dark would take on, especially at this time of year, the power of endings and transformation. So again, we have dark again as a word of power, that in endings is only the possibility for beginnings. Out of the dark comes the beginnings. So we have dark as knowledge, we have dark as death and endings. And at the very end of the charge, she lets us know that if that which we seek we do not first find within, we will not find it without. And in that instance, dark is mystery. It is the going within ourself, which is the journey to finding our own godhood and a relationship to the divine. All three of these aspects of dark involve courage. That's their commonality in the sense that each one has to be faced with a pure knowing of who you are, even if in knowing who you are, you know you are still exploring that and daring to take a step into it. Whether we seek knowledge which could rattle our foundations and change our worldview at any given moment, whether we are facing endings, our own death, the death of those we love, or endings in the sense of things ended, the termination of things that sometimes can seem so important in our life, and we are so changed from the moment they end onwards. And at the end, the courage to look within, to know ourselves. So I thought I would share from the teachings of Tradwicca, using the charge, 3 aspects of what dark would be. And I thought of one other thing I'd share, which I hadn't seen shared yet, and that is dark as the 4th corner of the witch's pyramid, to keep silent. North and the ancient knowing. That when we've gone through the process of knowing, willing, and daring, when the deed is done, no matter the deed, which ties us again to courage, tied into the dark, there is offering it up and releasing it. In traditional spell work, when a spell is offered up, you do not think of it and you do not talk of it again. There is deep power in silence. It mirrors all 3 aspects that I mentioned: knowing, accepting endings, and going within. Silence is the darkness. And the one other thing that I wanted to mention about darkness is I have never, in my practice, celebrated new moon. It's not a phrase that was part of my training. While I appreciate the newness of the moon at that point of its cycle, I celebrate, in balance to the full moon, the absolute beautiful dark of the moon. That quiet time when you go within, when there are no expectations, you release expectations others have of you, just as you release the expectations you have of yourself. Because only in the absolute release and going into the darkness can you discover something that is revealed to you as something you have not known before. Last night I was reminded of the power of the dark. Very, very clear skies here at this time of year. The moon has been glorious this cycle. And last night, moonlit as the sky was, when you stared up into the sky, and she was just glowing, and the stars were like you could reach out and touch them. But if you let yourself look beyond the moon, truly beyond what you see of the stars, you could find yourself moving into the darkness. And the lightness of the moon and the stars just passed you by, and you were just enveloped, even at the full moon, with glorious, glorious, beautiful darkness. And at this time of year especially, I wish you all the beauty and the peace and the power and the memory of darkness. I wish you mirth and reverence. Mary Part.